everyone, and welcome back. I hope you're doing really wonderful today. I'm coming on to talk to you about the month of December 2021 comprehensive astrology. I'm really happy to be coming on and talking about it. I'm coming on quite a ways in advance because I feel that this month is a month that we need to think about with foresight, as was the same for November. And also I will be doing eclipse videos around the time that December starts, so I wanted to get this video out there so I would have time to do those videos as well. So I so hope that you are coming to live premieres. I'm doing them every Friday at 6 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Central, and 9 p.m. Eastern time. And yes, if you're coming to those live premieres, you will be getting this information very early, and be sure to hit the subscribe button and turn on the bell notifications so you can know when the content is going out. But yes, as usual, I'm going to be talking about the intuitive messages of December, and then I'm going to be talking about the comprehensive astrology. So let's talk about it. Being that we are still certainly in November when I'm filming this video, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the morals of November, some of the overarching themes, and that will help us to understand December a little bit more. So getting really advanced into November, I think that there has to be a major release of care for other people's thoughts about you. So people who are really sensitive to the opinions of other people, or people who are gauging their ascension or elevation process through having like a popular support or having support from others, would be really struggling at this point, because there's a really erratic way that most people tend to opine on things that they support or don't. So I'm seeing a lot of people like jumping around a lot, you know, like one day I really support this and the next day I find it to be repulsive in some way. So those people who are trying to gain support or trying to receive a certain reaction, trying to manufacture or concoct reactions at any level, would be up for a very difficult time. Okay, the main energy that we're dealing with is a 90-degree square energy in astrology. So this deals with conflicts. This deals with, trying to put a square peg in a round hole. That is the general energy coming out of November. And it's going to kind of increase in certain ways in December and decrease in others, depending on how we rely on our own ability to manufacture, or how we rely on our own ability to receive a specific result. Because that is going to be the most difficult thing for December. So we basically have major exercise in the release of need for control. We have major exercise in also unhealthy philosophies or unhealthy concepts of living. Okay, so the idea that I can never get out of something, the idea that I am chained to a certain reality or chained to a certain procedure or style of healing or way of receiving income. These are going to be things that really become tight and start to leave marks at this time. Because basically, if you can lighten up your perspective and see other alternatives or see other ways that things could just fit better with who you are now, there will be this feeling of constant relief, and there will be this feeling of like being someone having an easy time amongst a backdrop of extreme difficulty. It's like we can either be a part of that backdrop, or we can step into our own understanding that we are having our own individual experience, and regardless of the thoughts or opinions of other people, we are nonetheless answering to us, okay, or answering to ourselves. So that seems like a really primary way to feel a little bit better moving into December. I sat quite a long time trying to meditate on December, and I tried to kind of understand what the universe is attempting to transcend through this conflict that many people are having. And what I basically understood was that we have to really see what a kind of desperate mindset or extremely forceful sense of manifesting resulted in. So it's kind of not so much about making changes at this point in time. Those times are coming in 2022 and 2023. We will have a lot of opportunities to change things that we don't like. But I feel that if you sense like discomfort in your life, or if you sense that like structures that you've built or things that you've been a part of are not exactly resonating with who you are now, this time of December of 2021 is more about witnessing that feeling to create and generate a sort of core understanding of what it feels like to not be in the right situation, or what it feels like to also be able to flexibly adapt and make choices that start to line up more with your own evolution. What do I mean by this? So without knowing what it feels like to be in a conflicted situation, we set ourselves up to only experience conflicted situations. So we're essentially getting good with this feeling, or we're learning about the feeling of conflict, learning about the feeling of unsureness, learning about the feeling of oversaturation and overstimulation, so that we can start to create realities that really transcend these things without knowing it, without understanding the feeling, without going through this experience that I feel most people are having right now, where essentially they have outgrown a lot of what they are partaking in, but they are seeking stability and kind of making it fit. So that, to me, with all these squares that we're going through, is the main collective dynamic. And if you don't feel that way, that's really incredible. Like, if you feel that you really fit into your current experience and you're like really pursuing your own knowing in this like really transparent and integrity based way, that is an incredible transcending that you've already accomplished. Though I feel that even people in those positions have questions right now, you know, whether those are economic, whether those are geographic, like the locations that we choose to do things in, the cost that we take on to achieve certain, you know, levels of living and things like that. I feel that everybody, regardless of how successful, has major questions about how that looks moving forward. So I think that this video can apply for everybody, regardless of where you're at on the scale of like conflict versus, I want to say, conflict versus purpose dedication, or conflict versus dedication to purpose and the real kind of integrity-based contributions to that dedication and the moving forward. Whether you're there or whether you're just in conflict right now, it all really is serving an important purpose to learn, to teaching us how to define things in our lives. So things to me right now are very lacking in definition. There's kind of a nebulous feeling. And by the end of December, Jupiter will be moving back into Pisces, and there's going to be this sense of like ultimate goal and ultimate universal becoming of who we're meant to be. So I will really say to you, intuitive messages already kind of combining with astrology here, but we'll talk specifically about astrology. I think that it's really important to know if you feel really off or if you feel really conflicted about things, I think it's a sign that you've grown. And with growth comes adjustment. You know, as one grows physically, they have to buy bigger sized clothing. As one grows emotionally, they can't necessarily have the same people in their lives that they had at a previous emotional state. You know what I mean? You know how life kind of comes in and there are these times where we have to level up? I think that came in around the time of like April 2020. And though because of like global dynamics, we all like push for stability and we're trying to like fit these old things. And that is difficult at this point in time because we want stability more than necessarily we want purpose dedication, because a lot of our purpose started to revolve around stability. And the month of December 2021, intuitively, I feel that it's just going to be like, and November was this way as well, thing after thing, experience after experience that kind of show you what it feels like to kind of block yourself off in order to maintain stability. And then, okay, stability becomes an illusion because it's not stable to feel that sense of blockage. It's not stable to feel as if you're forcing yourself into clothes that don't fit. Okay, so if you can imagine, like, okay, I'm not going to buy I've grown, or my body shape has changed, but I'm not going to buy new clothes because I'm saving money. Are you living a stable life by forcing yourself into malfitting, painful clothing in order to look at your bank statement and like see numbers that evoke a feeling of stability? Is that stability? Or is that an illusion? Because also you're forcing yourself into a clothing that was like for a body that was living in an unstable experience to some degree, because by virtue of focusing on stability, whenever someone is stability minded, whenever someone is like a saver or has decided they want to pursue stability, it means that they've experienced some kind of extreme inversion of like unexpected events, or they've had some type of like major fear-based experience around loss or poverty experience. So a stability focus is never going to really give that. It's going to create illusions around safety, okay? Because, I mean, do you think that people with X amount of money are stable? Money has nothing really to do with stability. The only stable thing in this life is the fact that there are changes. So we live in a seasonal dimension. We live in a dimension that has some degree of repetitive seasons. And the only stable aspect about that is the fact that they transpire. So you can never prolong an amount of money. You can never prolong a certain body shape. You can never prolong a certain status. That's called stagnation. That's not called stability. But a lot of the current financial regimes want to ingrain a sense of stability that is actually stagnation, but that's an illusion, because money in and of itself is not a real thing. It creates real things. Many illusions create real results. You know, if you watch a TV show that's produced in Hollywood, it might change your thinking about something, but that's a manufactured shift. It's not a real shift. You know, money's the same way. It's like it can certainly be life-changing. If someone wins the lottery and wins $25 million, it can be life-changing, but how many of those people feel that their life changed in a good way? You know, a lot of people's lives are completely destroyed by receiving those types of illusions in such bulk. So we have a lot to think about, you know, when it comes to, if I just had that amount of money, if I just had that location, if I just had this like house, if I just had these things, I would feel stable. No, this isn't the problem. The problem is that we're living in a tricky kind of formula at this time about like what we're trying to do versus what form of stability that brings into our life and that we feel is stability. And is it what it seems? You know, we're about to have Jupiter moving into Pisces in December. We have Neptune in Pisces. We have a lot of nebulous, Sagittarius season, Aquarius energy. Not the entire solar system is in these nebulous, unreal things, but I've got to say that I don't feel that we are really out for what we think we're out for. And I feel like there's a lot of focus or conscious individual focus on ideas or concepts or potentialities or hobbies or businesses or whatever, hardcore focus onto like small aspects of these things, while in the background there's a huge like falling through or collapsing of like things that might actually need attention. So this is a major dynamic that I will say is here in December, and it's going to also be present in 2022. And the difficult thing about 2022 is I'm already starting to create content about 2022. Again, hit that subscribe button below if you're excited for 2022 year ahead forecasts. A big aspect of 2022 is to some degree a hybrid ability to manage these small things that you want to focus on, and at the same time have like the ability to work hard on the things that really need attention and the bigger structures in your life. Like we have to kind of be a jack of all trades in 2022 and be able to an extent do it all. But the only way that we're going to be able to do that without having collapses or implosions is to fork over our attachment to illusionary stability and to fork over our attachment to what I almost want to call like the mental trapeze at this point in time. It's like the mind just swinging all over the place and not actually doing any of the stuff that it needs to do, but just, not choosing one way or another. It's like analysis paralysis on steroids, mental trapeze. That is definitely an energy that is going to be coming through as we have Mercury moving into debilitated sign of Sagittarius as well this month. But I still have a few more intuitive messages I want to talk to you about before we talk just about astrology. The best thing in the world that you can do in December of 2021 is simplify things. This can still look like planning if you're particularly behind. I mean, even as far back as late 2020, we were already really meant to be jumping into the planning for simplification, the planning for minimizing certain things, the planning for getting a few extra things off our plate. Again, as I've said a bunch of times on this channel, for the year of 2021, 10 of Wands was the card that I saw above all others, and to a degree, 9 of Swords and 9 of Wands. So I always knew that 2021 was going to be a year of having taken on too much, of to a degree having too much on your plate, and it also being really not like that important of stuff. I mean, some of it is really important, but I feel that a lot of people, like 80% of their energetic reserves are going to flotsam and jetsam on their plate of life, and they're saving 20% of their energetic yield for the things that really matter, okay? And that's got to really start to switch up here, and how we've got to do that here in December of 2021, especially if you're feeling like that resonates still, that like 80% of your energetic reserves are going to like mental trapeze or jobs that should be delegated, or being of assistance to other people almost as their own servant or something, like people calling on you to do things for them and you're like automatically going into servitude for them and not receiving any type of compensation. It's like Year of the Ox stuff, right? Year of the Ox actually deals with like, or the energy of Ox in the Chinese zodiac deals with like indentured servitude, and it deals with any type of bondage or any type of chaining to things which disempower you, but also it really strengthens you as you become able to balance a lot of stuff, and you become able to time manage really well, and you become also able to like run businesses really well. Or that's why I've talked about entrepreneurship a lot this year, and I've talked about structures that facilitate nice integrity-based elevation in life, whether that be materially or energetically. It is often both. The whole stability thing is really off there. Like we were just talking about, like the whole construct of stability has gone rotten in a way. So in that sense, it also, you have to juggle that at the same time. But this is all a good dialogue around the energy that we're going through right now. And then also, professions as well have gotten in a degree rotten. It's not like saying that every person in every profession is off. There are great people in every profession, but some of the methods or some of the cultures, this has to do to a degree with Pluto return, especially in the US. It's like a lot of them have begun a sort of decomposing, like certain things that have been status quo are now kind of decomposing in a way, and nonetheless they are still active and still essential constructs. So it's kind of difficult to work in a traditional context, and this is why I'm telling you, and I'm really importing to you all the weariness that one needs about like very traditional themes like stability, or like even to some degree education, or also like old themes like retirement, or the idea of wages, or the idea, all of these kind of very status quo aspects of society are having a decomposing at this time, and it's not at really its height either. Like this is actually a sort of preliminary decomposition, and in that way it's still available, or it's still accessible, or it's still intertwinable into your experience, but it's stinking already. You know, it smells off. Like if you're in any field that is like that, you'll experience it. And I'm not suggesting in any way that you need to like evacuate or you need to like leave your field or leave your profession or anything like that. That's not how this works. That's not how Pluto return doesn't do that. It really requires that people be agents of transformation, of positive integrity-based transformation within their field, or that they strike out on their own and have personal transformation. You can really be either way, but it's going to be different for every person. And we're going to be feeling that, okay? We're going to be feeling that big time in December as it's Sag and Capricorn season. Pluto's in Capricorn, and January will even push it even higher, where it's like, whoa, I've got to prioritize my autonomy. I've got to prioritize my own growth and my own capability and the delivery of integrity back into my experience. Because integrity is a hard thing for a lot of people right now. Because it seems that people with integrity like get knocked down because it terrifies energy fields that have corrupted. So it is kind of like a corruption versus integrity experience on every single front and even within our own bodies. Okay, so this is something that is micro at the very central level and macro, and it deals with a lot of things. I don't have time to go into like what all this results from. It could be another video for another day, though that might have to be a Patreon exclusive. So basically what's going on there is internally at an immune level, at a chemical level within the body, there is already in every person corruption, okay? Because of certain introduction of certain chemicals and certain natural and artificial experiences. So on one hand, you have a natural thing that the earth is doing, and even if there were not industrialization and things like that, this would be happening to a degree anyway. But yes, industrialization is the other branch of that, and it has contributed its own sort of element to this. So within every body, there's a battle of corruption. There's corrupt cells, there's corruption, there's a corrupt artificial and natural decomposition, okay? And it's not like it's something that many, this has happened, we're not the first ones to experience this, is what I'm trying to say. It's special in that it's never been quite like it is now, but it's also not new, okay? But what this means is that it's going to be like this in every single place. There's no way to really transcend this. There's only healing, and that's what I strive to do here on YouTube. Like, some of these corrupted aspects of ourselves can be healed and transcended, and we can get to a higher level of vibration. And also, healthy parts of us can be corrupted as well. It's like you can go either way with it right now. And there's a lot of roots right now that I feel have not corrupted, but have shifted into a new perceptual projection. So you might have roots of your life that you're like, whoa, is this even like what I want to do? Is this even where I want to be? Like, what do I do? But if there's that question, it means it's not totally off, but that there's kind of maybe a need to reforge or reformat, and that's fine. We can do that really well. But the key to preserving our own liveliness, I want to say, is in some way getting hands off with a lot of stuff. So this is where that stability focus can be a major corrupting element at this time. Ooh, what a nice thesis. What a nice thesis. There's nothing wrong with focusing on stability, but because of what stability means in this society, it's almost like there's a corrupting element to a stability focus and a destabilizing component to a healing focus. Okay, big stuff here. Great, incredible downloads. I'm so happy this is coming through. So that means that either path that you choose, whatever you choose to do, there's going to be this paradox. Okay, if you're in a healing focus, there's going to be destabilization there because you're having to remit, release, and in a sense destroy certain corrupted aspects of yourself or of your experience. Then, however, if you're in a stability-focused status quo situation, you're having to do the exact same thing in a different way. You're having to reverse certain healing processes and rely on certain illusions like money, like, property, like things like that, like certain conceptual constructs in order to give you an elusive sense of well-being and status. So at this point in time, what is the difference between having a healing focus or a stability focus? At the real end of the day, I think that the difference is weight, and the difference is mobility. And it seems most important to, regardless of which area we're really focusing our energetic life force into right now, it just seems most important to simplify and to cut a few things. So cutting things from the budget, cutting things from the output, cutting things from also the psychology. So we have impulses, right? We have some unhealthy impulses. And I'll start that off in the astrology version, but to conclude intuitive messages, simplify, simplify, simplify in December. Try to not get too attached to the opinions or feelings of others. Also do some serious deep dive if you can on like the weight of what you're carrying around and how that could maybe just be simplified very quickly and very easily. Okay, very quickly and very easily. It's not as hard as we think it is. We're making mountains out of molehills for a lot of people and suspending ourselves in a level of discord, conflict, and chaos just for the sake. And it's not because we can't figure it out. It's because we're trying to learn what that feels like so we can transcend it and not get caught off guard by it again. So December as a month is an ultimate preparative phase for a paradigm shift as we prepare in January to have the nodal shift. We also have Jupiter changing sign, and here we are in astrology. So let's dive right into that anyway. I'm going to go ahead and throw up the first chart on the screen, which is the December 1st chart. Let's see, let me make sure I have that in front of me. Yes. Okay. The first thing that my eyes jump through is the nodes at 1 degree. Yes, I just think it's going to be such a big deal as they shift signs. I've talked quite a lot about this already. But yeah, we're in the final part of nodes in Gemini and Sagittarius. This means that we have a final kind of cerebrality. Is that a word? I don't think that that's a word, but like we have a cerebral tendency. We have things stuck in the mind. We have concepts, ideas, philosophies, mantras, narratives, being outgrown, and also with a shelf life. Okay, there might be a lot of things that have a shelf life. There might be a temporality to a lot of the experiences we're going through. And because of that, we can spend a lot of December in the mind and benefit, okay? But it's getting to a point where it's getting old. Like, in my opinion, I just feel like it's getting really tiresome to think and think and think and think and refuse action, or to let all action be transmuted into thought. It's really not good for us. It's really detrimental at this point in time. And we've had the sun by December 1st already moved past the nodes. It's gone over them. It's activated them. Mercury as well. So there should be at the end of November and like cusp of Scorpio and Sag, there should be a lot of like immaculate realization of like, okay, I can't do this anymore. Okay, I've got to scrap some of this. Okay, I've got to also introduce some of this. It should be very clear, as Mars will also come up and go over the nodes too. We have a lot of planets crossing right over them as they prepare to change in January. So in the context of December, the last, I think, full month with the nodes in Gemini and Sag, I mean, yeah, maybe we should treasure this time where it really is the last month where things are going to be so cerebral and so like on the mind, and we have to get much more body oriented when nodes go into Scorpio and Taurus. Like, things get real. Okay, these thoughts become real. These ideas become tangible, and the emotions start to carry a lot more immediate manifestation. So that is a good preparation as well for December. It's like, can we maybe prepare for what some of this stuff would be like in real life instead of just keeping it in the mind? And can we also have a wake-up call about the multi-lives that we're living? Again, North Node in Gemini, dual lives, multi-lives. The negatives of that are seen now, and we have to understand how this all integrates eventually, okay? Other things I want to talk about astrologically. So first of all, Saturn-Uranus square, getting more and more exact throughout the entire month of December. So this means we have like a debt crisis. This means that we have essentially a currency, monetary, economic crisis. I've already talked at length about this. I'll link my global dynamics video where I focus solely pretty much on economics and global events like that below and in the top right-hand corner. And, what more is there to say? The material conflicts with the vision that many of us have of ourselves at this point. Some of us think we need a lot more to get where we want to be, and some of us think that we need a lot less to get where we want to be. And this has to ultimately just be faced and experienced. Again, it's like this is not what we want to experience for many, many people when it comes to a material living or a material avenue. Okay, so my advice that I can give you from a traditional astrological perspective about Saturn Uranus squares is to understand if you feel dissatisfaction or unhappiness about the material or conceptual even aspect of your life. If that is something that's occupying a lot of your mind, it means that something is not holistically a part of your long term. So we sometimes have these temp jobs that we try to make forever. We sometimes also have forever things that we try to make temporary. And there's with a Saturn-Uranus square, something's off in that regard. Like something that was meant to be short-lived becomes long-lived. Something that was meant to become long-lived becomes short-lived. A relationship that we thought was forever ends. A job that we did to get through college becomes like a huge career or company. And this is very difficult for the psyche to diffuse and to process when things like this happen. Saturn-Uranus square. Also, when stability becomes preventative of our true purpose, or when purpose becomes preventative of stability, or when there's a conflict here. This is really a great area of focus. And a positive of December is that with the nodes making things so mind-oriented, so philosophy-oriented, is we can really develop a philosophy that gets us through these experiences, and we can plan out a way to transcend this, but we have to follow through. The follow through is the hard part. Like, you can plan out the perfect budget, but can you follow through? You can plan to take a leap into your, purposeful career, but can you follow through? We have to be able to follow through. And an interesting positive of a Saturn-Uranus square, as I feel like I need to offset this a little bit, is that there's an ability to pretty much participate in anything because of the conflict, because of the way that things are so all over the place and insane. There's an in for pretty much anything, and that's what we're not really giving ourselves. It's like we know it. Like, honestly, whatever you want to do, you can do it. Like, whatever career you want to be a part of, you can do that now. Like, literally, the positive of Saturn-Uranus squares, things are so scattered, things are so scrambled. Like, you can pretty much be involved in anything, and it can be eccentric, it can be unconventional, or it can be conventional and or what we consider normal. But basically the doors are open. But the problem is also that you can't really expect for people to do it for you, or you can't expect that it's going to be smooth. Okay, so this is basically what's also in a backhanded way generating a lot of chaos, is people are entering into completely uncontextual things and destabilizing the entire experience for everyone else. But it's good because they needed to do it, or they needed to fulfill their soul's purpose. So it's fulfilling at even a macrocosmic karmic level, but it's destabilizing, up front. And it's just it's really chaotic, I know, but it's it needed to happen, or that this has to be happening. So if you're experiencing a material crisis in your life, a foreclosure, Saturn-Uranus square, a bankruptcy, a booming business, a huge overnight rags to riches story, all of this stuff is possible with Saturn-Uranus square. But it's the person that gets foreclosed on ends up having a great experience. And then also the person with the booming business ends up living in absolute emotional torture. It's kind of totally off, what we think. And this is basically where our prejudices and where our expectations and where what we think that we know about how things are totally ripped out from under us. So try to really be careful that you think that you know what you're doing right now as well, or try to be really careful with false claims on expertise as well. This is, I love this download. Starting a business and thinking that you know how to do that, and then it gets totally ripped out from under you, or conversely, you end up getting praise and you're in Forbes or something. You don't even know what you're doing. It's that type of thing. But it's a gamble, right? It feels really risky. And in that way, it's a very poor time to be in leadership, or it's a really, on one hand, the door is very open to that. You can step into it, but it's also, I kind of feel that everybody who has a sermon, or everybody who has not even so much a sermon, but more a tendency to claim an intellectual superiority about how to solve a certain problem, or how to, get rich quick, how to run a business, how to. It's a never-ending how-to tutorial. I would recommend disconnecting from these things right at this point in time. I kind of feel especially here on YouTube or on social media in general, it's very saturated with people who look as if they know what they're talking about certain things, but you'll kind of start to see conflicting advice. If you are trying to get a certain thing done, you ask Google a question or you ask YouTube a question, and there's 9,000 results and with 10,500 different answers. And that is so much more responsible than you guys even know for our current mental state of being so indecisive, being so ADD, being so all over the place. It's because we don't actually know anything ourselves. We don't know things ourselves now. We don't go inside to find answers. We don't go to knowing people necessarily to find answers. We are giving, all of that to technology. And that's very evocative of Saturn-Uranus square to me as well. Not really knowing how to do things yourself, relying on decomposing professions, or relying on the first result on YouTube, or relying on these people and giving them that type of power over your life. And then that ends up being really difficult for them karmically as well. And it definitely brings up independent capability. Uranus is a lot about independence and unconventionality. And square Saturn being about dependence and reliance on structures to get through. If you just kind of think about it, how much do we really do ourselves? Even if you're the most independent, self-employed person, how much then your reliance seems to go up on the service industry, or it's just we are not very independent really right now. And at the same time, that which we depend on is in a state of decomposition, it would appear. So we have, I guess, some true innovation to find regarding how we navigate a situation like that. And I will say, you can do pretty much 80% of that healing just by scrapping about 80% of what's on your plate. And you'd be surprised about how much is completely an unnecessary part of your experience. Certain addictions, certain dependencies, certain tasks that you don't have to do, certain things that you don't have to have, things that you're upkeeping, things that you're maintaining that are completely accessories to your experience. Definitely take a look into that. Okay, let's move on from Saturn-Uranus, and I want to talk about, we have Venus-Pluto conjunction happening this month as well. And that conjunction will be exact on December 9th, but we'll be feeling it for the entire month of December. So Venus-Pluto conjunction, this means that we can really actually increase our earning power. This means that we can really become more powerful within our sense of connection to other people as well. It's possible to meet very strong force, like people who have a strong sense of life force during a Venus-Pluto conjunction. It's also possible to have dangerous liaisons, or again, there's a sense of enjoying a corrupt process, or a sense of enjoying a sense of danger. Okay, so we have to kind of look at that as well. What is our risk aversion in many sectors of our lives? What are we really playing with here? What is the comfort that we're also experiencing through these sort of flirtations with fear-based situations? Also, are we addicted to chaos or a sense of bondage at the same time. Like, to me, this Venus-Pluto in this entire context of this full chart is saying to me that all these things that we've been talking about in this video, like the Saturn-Uranus quandaries, the difficulty of knowing about purpose, like not knowing what to do, it's almost like it feels good. It feels like, wow, I have things to worry about. Like, wow, things aren't right and I'm figuring stuff out, like a sort of attraction to that status. Okay, so definitely see that if you're there. Like, wow, I really enjoy being critical of other people. Wow, I really enjoy making fun of people on social media or making fun of people on TV. I really like that feeling. So that's a major corruption as well. So we have a bit of a pot and kettle situation there. So yes, on the positive side though, I find that the Venus-Pluto conjunction in Capricorn is grounding compared to what else is going on with all of this Aquarius, Pisces, Aries, Gemini, and Sag energy, and Jupiter changing from Aquarius to Pisces. It's all so out of our hands. It's all so completely conceptual and unconventional and totally just off to some degree. So the Venus-Pluto conjunction in Capricorn is a good place to focus with like real stuff and with I'm not talking about monetary stuff. That will definitely come up, but I'm talking more so about like, what is my life really? Like, what am I really doing? Is my head in the clouds? Like stuff like that. And you can really get back onto your path with that conjunction. Mars is advancing really quickly in Scorpio, and it is, as we enter the month, going to be at 24 to 25 degrees of Scorpio. And yes, as we are advancing through December, it will move up right conjunct the South Node in Sagittarius by mid-December. And I would definitely give you the date of December 15th, Mars conjunct South Node in Sagittarius, as a very critical and deliberate moment to understand what you can do right then at that time to get your reality in a little bit more of a place that makes real sense to you and that kind of resonates more with your purpose and journey. Okay, there's a really good opportunity at that time, and I've got to say this is a kind of a high point within all of these transits as things feel so uncontrollable, as things feel so out of our hands to a degree. Mars conjunct South Node will give you a past life context, or it will give you like your ancestors or your past life versions, or even the past versions of yourself will be like, look, you're totally off, or you're totally just like trying to fix things that aren't problems, or it's not that what you think is a problem, it's that it's just you've outgrown it in the first place, and regardless of how you change it or regardless of how you move it, it's not the problem, it's not the thing that's in your hands that's the problem, it's the fact that you're holding it. Okay, it could be something like that, or it will just kind of be like, you can do this action here and totally resolve this now. Like, get out of your head and just step into grounded action and move through. Okay. Also, I would think that there will be a need to understand how our physical body is being represented in our current dreams and aspirations. Like, are we exercising the right way? Are we treating our spinal alignment and our muscular fascia system as well? Well, okay, Mars conjunct the South Node in Sagittarius. It's like athleticism and mindsets in regards to the physical body and in regards to masculine energy is going to be the answer. That's the key, guys. Okay, I'm giving you the key right here to all of these things. Actually deals with unchanneled energy through the physical body. It's not through the mind, okay? The mind doesn't hold the key past December 15th. It's the physical body, it's the actions, it's the healing process. So being also that there's a small trine to Chiron, I think that there's a really good opportunity past December 15th for like the entire next year to do some real healing or to do some acupuncture or chiropractic or something that will clear up some of this trauma-based fascia wound that I feel that is preceding most of these indecisive crises for most people. So that's interesting to think about as well. Mars conjunct South Node, what a I mean, that's powerful stuff. That's like, I will no longer be chained down to this feeling. I will no longer be in a state of bondage. Like, I will break free. There's a big, especially it being in the first degree of Sagittarius. Oh my God, it's like breaking free from a certain confine as well. So I would definitely beware of trying to chain yourself to something, or trying to tie yourself to something, or trying to create a new regiment of some kind. It's almost like December 15th, we've got to do some spontaneous stuff maybe to find these answers. Or maybe it's like a traveling or a weekend trip or something to understand a little bit more about life. Or maybe it's a physical experience that gets us out of previous muscle memory and shows us a little bit more about human life as well. And those things are going to really show you some answers. Okay, so what else do I want to talk about? I want to talk about Jupiter changing sign. I'm going to make a full video about this, Jupiter in Pisces part 2. I already have a part 1, which you might be interested in seeing. I'll link it below and in the top right hand corner. But let me see, I'm looking at dates here. Okay, so yes, December 29th, it looks like. Just double checking that. Yeah, December 29th, we have Jupiter changing sign right at the end of the calendar new year. So even though the calendar new year is not always a defined ending period, typically this is at February and March during Pisces season. We're going to have a sense of it because Jupiter is in the final degrees of Aquarius. So this is going to be a good time for New Year's resolutions actually this year. New Year's resolutions could actually really work. And I would invite you to think about those things while the nodes are still there, because once we get the nodes moving into Scorpio and Taurus, we're not going to be able to patiently parse through things in the mind. It's going to be act, real, emotional reactions determining outcomes, okay? And so also, we don't have time for temporality, okay? We have an ultimate goal, or we have an ultimate knowing, or we have an ultimate cause with Jupiter and Pisces, as compared to like innovation for the sake of innovation, business for the sake of business, like money for the sake of money. It's like Jupiter and Pisces transcends all of that, and we have to be more soul focused, S-O-U-L, soul focused, instead of so materially focused. Okay, dreams, purpose, ultimate causes will be an area of great strength and great luck and great fortune if we can actually do that and allow ourselves to be there. Or the alternative is like bondage to a previous malconstructed structure. So these are our choices, because Jupiter in Pisces also has an area that deals with the latter as well, as a sort of existential crisis, or as a sort of artistic muse expansion through suffering, though Jupiter in and of itself won't do that, but there's always space for that in the Pisces archetype. But in conclusion, for the month of December, okay, it's it's really such a gift, like to still have this mental focus, to still have this planning, strategic zest, to still have so much time pushed onto the conceptualization of what we could do. I mean, that's really a blessing of December, but it's also uncomfortable because of the Saturn-Uranus square, because it's like, at some point in time, I've got to really move into my cause or my calling or something. And at some point in time, that means taking a few things off the plate. That's one aspect of it for some people. And then for others, I feel December to just be such a nice re-entry back into better fascia, better physical experience, better physical health, better... That Mars conjunct South Node, I think, is the most profound transit this month. The rest of it's kind of familiar, and the rest of it's kind of long-running momentums. But the Mars conjunct South Node is going to give us a whole new context about where we currently stand. And I think it could also really kind of shift us into Eye of the Tiger mode. You know, we've got Year of the Tiger coming up soon too. So it's like, Mars conjunct South Node warrior status, like soldiering through, like not being indentured to your own like indecisiveness, okay? But instead like really stepping into your own power and your own strength and moving into what you know you have to do. And then 2022 and 23 to a degree become an incredible climbing process for a lot of people, but make sure you've got those harnesses in place. So anyway, everyone, I hope that you are really excited for December. I hope that this video resonated and made sense for you. If you've come out of this video feeling like, ooh, that's kind of heavy, that's kind of worrisome, I would draw your attention to anything that creates more simplification into your life, anything that brings to you natural surplus via simplification, via better budgeting, via more sobriety, and also anything that evokes like warrioring up for your own like self, like anything that evokes like, I'm going to overcome this, I'm going to not allow this to rule me. I know that things aren't perfect, but I'm going to, instead of being in a state of absolute freneticism and erraticism and not making any progress there, I'm going to just kind of get real and know what I have to do now. So that's a lot of what this time is about, and that's really incredible because it's still offset with that mental energy of nodal axis in Gemini and Sag. It's still like able to perceive all of it. It's still able to like conceptualize so much. So it's a pretty empowering mix of energies when it's so like physically expansive and so physically focused, but at the same time there's that mental capacity. It's like this is really kind of like penultimate creative energy, but we just have to be able to balance the struggle of Saturn-Uranus square and, you know, material versus innovation versus structure versus status quo versus new ideas and new concepts. Like that conflict is a sort of orbiting entity within these truly incredible new potentialities. So spend some time there in December. Why not? Why not, you know, put one foot in front of the other, do what you got to do, be that warrior, and don't let your like structured life fall victim to skyscrapers in the mind, because that's a possibility as well. But when you have time, when it's real, when it's right, just think about what you want to do and enjoy that and offset that with some real physical progress. And we will be set up to be in January prepared for a big paradigm shift of nodal axis. So happy December, everyone. Happy holidays to those of you celebrating. And I will be doing live premieres. December is probably going to be the best month on this channel. It's always my favorite time because I get to do year ahead content and I get to talk about some totally new topics. So I'll be doing live premieres every Friday at 6 p.m. Pacific time. Hit that subscribe button below and turn on bell notifications. And I am also on Patreon. This is almost an hour video and it's a free content. So if you want to support an independent creator on YouTube, be sure to check out the Patreon page below. I also have a lot of links below that I'll put that you can follow me on other social media, follow me here, comment. And yes, I'm doing bonus content every week on Patreon as well. So be sure to go and check that out if you're craving any more content. So thank you so much. Have a great December. And I hope you enjoyed this early video. Much love. Bye.